Ad Astra travelers, and welcome to another episode of Tales of Teyvat, a Genshin Lore Podcast. Last week, we discussed the bright sunshine that is coming and his beautiful personality despite his trauma. This week, we're going to be discussing Guuji Yae Miko, head of the Grand Narukami Shrine.
Are you looking for a little mischief, a little tee-hee-hee, a little swish-swish? Well, sneak on over to our website, talesofteyvat.com, where each episode has its own page with visuals, perfect for a midday tail fluffing.
While you're on our site, check out our past episodes and seasons, artist spotlights from the community for every topic, and some other goodies.
Finally, feel free to email us at talesofteyvatpod@gmail.com to let us know what you think of this week's episode and what topics you'd like to see in the future. Additionally, you can give us a rating wherever you listen to podcasts to let other travelers know that they might find a funny hee-hee-ha-ha time here and that they might enjoy it. Lastly, you can also feel free to check out our Ko-fi, where you can buy us a cup of coffee, Diet Pepsi, maybe a mellow yellow, or you can check out our merch.
A mellow yellow? What about a tab?
No. If anything, we're having mellow yellow. Or starry.
Cherry
I really
wine.
like starry. Cherry wine?
Yeah, have you ever heard of that one?
I don't think you can let Angel Share know that we're bringing outside alcoholic beverages in
No,
here.
it's soda.
Oh, what?
How about good old-fashioned Diet Sunkist?
I can get down with that. That and a slice of pizza.
I was waiting for you to say sarsaparilla.
Now, I would like to report back to travelers that we are no longer poisoned and that Charles has bought us these really nifty lids for our cups now. So we are forced to drink out of straws, reusable ones, even though we're really not sure how many turtles there are in Mondstadt.
We got those things that you can dip in your drink to find out if you've been dosed.
Yeah, I got nail polish so they can put my finger in it.
Oh, good. Well, I mean, isn't that just like your catchphrase at this point?
I just put my finger in it and it's all okay. Listen, if it works, it works.
Just always putting your finger in it.
Yep.
But fingers aside, we want to let you guys know that we are good. We're sorry we had to postpone this episode, but we didn't want any of the conspiracies to start that Yae Miko stopped us from making this. So we are here, we are back, and we're ready to talk about our queen, Yae Miko.
Although she could have done it. She could have done it.
She might have done it, but someone told me they saw a blue-haired man wearing a mask and a maniacal laugh sitting upstairs, so I'm not too sure.
A Yato?
Oh my god, yes! I've talked a lot of smack about both blue-haired men that could be maniacally
That's the
laughing.
last time I drink boba in this place.
The problem is I've talked too much shit about Ayato and Dottore. So
Yeah.
it really could be both
That's
of them.
true.
Definitely not Shingsho or Shongyun, at least. They did not poison us. Or Kaya. It was a blue-haired man, but none of the ones I like.
I don't know. We'll have to look at the video footage and see who was maybe lurking upstairs.
You think D-Luke has a camera in this place? I'm sorry. I don't even know if he knows what a camera is.
He probably just stands in the shadows and watches.
Yeah.
He's the camera.
Yeah.
He's got like a photo perfect memory.
Hey, it
Yeah.
can't be busy for the Dark Knight hero every night. It's got to have some spare time.
When he can't do it, it's Rosaria, and he just
Yeah.
like pays her with like a pack of cigarettes.
And Kaya just finds her in the corner and is like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Aren't you going to come drink with me? But anyway, Kaya Queen aside, going to Yae Miko Queen. What were your first impressions on Yae Miko?
Flirty.
She's sly like a fox.
Yeah, sly. Mysterious.
She definitely seemed like she was always up to something and very cunning and very pointed with her words. Like she knew what she's saying.
Yeah. And she's one of those characters that comes across as so suspicious the first time you meet her that it's almost like, well, she's definitely not evil because she's so suspicious that would be too obvious. But at the same time, you're like, it could go either way, especially when you find out she's sort of like pulling some strings, like in terms of the Raiden Shogun and everything. And you're like, what is your real motive? And it kind of culminates, I feel like, with the whole Archon Quest line where you don't really know for sure, like what side of things she's on until the very end.
Oh yeah, definitely. When you first meet her, you're kind of like, maybe you should have left me with the big hat man.
Yeah.
Right.
Because I will say, my first impression of Yae Miko, all I can think about is the Yae Miko games, aka the Raiden Shogun trials.
Uh-huh.
Presumably worse than the Squid Games.
Those were rough.
Oh, like when you had to like practice what you were going to do in the ring?
Yeah,
Yeah.
she saves your life and then puts you into a death trap to prove that you can go into a bigger death trap.
Yeah.
And I never could do it. Like, I thought the Senora fight was hard. I was like, I need to go back. This is harder. I can't use miso soup here. None of my elemental things are helping. I don't got shield. I don't even know if that would matter. I was so scared of her. I was like, she's torturing me, and I just met her.
The new version of that is in Natland when you go into like the weird Night Kingdom trials where you have to like use mechanics to win something.
When you're fighting a capybara.
Yes, but it's like only this one little thing will actually hurt them.
It's like if you do 62.359 damage that is dendro related, you'll kill it.
Yeah, but you have to dodge it just the right moment in order for it to hit.
Yeah, like a 16-degree angle.
Yes.
I think I only got through that because I stayed on the outside. Like I stayed to the edges. I was just like, stay to the edges, stay as close as you can and get around. And I just kept running around in a big giant circle, staying on the edge of the ring. I was like, you can't get me.
I honestly think I just screamed the entire time. Like, I was like, what am I doing? But no one could hear me screaming because I was pitching. Because when I scream, I get too high pitched.
Yes,
So the mic doesn't pick it up. So no one could hear the screams, just me. It's like when a tree falls in the woods and no one's around.
It reminded me too of the time, because I did find it very difficult to get through. The other time that I had had such a hard time where I was like, I'm going to make somebody else come into my account and do this, was when I was fighting Dvalin in the beginning. I couldn't get through that at all. And I don't know if you guys remember this story because it's peak ridiculous, Tiffany. I kept going back in and I was like, I don't understand what you people are telling me, that it's so easy and to just do XYZ. I'm like, I can't make it through. But what I didn't realize was that until I was just happened to say it, I had stepped away and I had to rejoin my Dvalin fight. And as my little tiny little baby character, I was doing it at 90. Not at 2. So when I finally did it back in the beginning, it was a lot easier.
Yeah. We had a friend that did not understand that you can't stay on the same platform. And I remember just like because she also like wasn't reading the chat fully while she was streaming it. And I remember being like, you have to jump to the next platform in all caps. And I like made her boyfriend go into the other room to tell her.
Yeah. Jump. Oh,
so before there was that,
yeah,
there was Yae Miko training us on how to fight the Raiden Shogun.
And it was terrible. But we'll get a little bit more into like our actual in-person introductions to Yae Miko. I will say the other thing I remember about her is the cat toy. Like it just kept being like, oh, she has a cat toy.
Why does she have a cat toy?
Because she's kind of a cat. Like, I know she's a fox, but
which is a dog.
What? A fox is a dog? Oh yeah, I guess Tinyari is a dog.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But she's like so much more cat-like.
She is very cat-like.
Meow meow. Meow meow. Meow meow meow. Anyway, so Yae Miko is a kitsune, which is a type of yokai. So just a quick reminder that yokai are like a special class of creatures that are in Inazuma. They're kind of similar to the adepti that are over in Liyue. They're supernatural. They have special abilities and powers. And besides Yae Miko, we have met a few other yokai. We have Ito. We have Kirara, who is our male person. He's sitting behind the bar right now. Kujo Sara, Mizuki, and then of course Yae Miko. We've met a few other random ones like Kishibushi, of course.
Oh, Kichibushi.
But those are like the general ones that we know.
The way that I always because it confused me in the beginning between, when we'd seen them in Leeway, the difference between the two different supernatural beings. And I always like to look at it as in Leeway, it's the illuminated beasts is like the general category, and then like the adepti and the yaksha are a type of illuminated beast. Where in an Inazuma, they're all yokai, a kitsune, an oni. They're all types of that larger group.
Right. And they all had specialized areas too.
Mm-hmm.
So when you look at Yae Miko, she is specifically a kitsune, which is a fox-like creature. And it is suggested that she was born as a fox and like eventually learned how to make a human form.
Mm-hmm.
And kitsune are usually known for being shapeshifters, which makes sense with her being so sly.
Mm-hmm.
It says that they can like put their consciousness into like inanimate objects.
Like a paddle.
Like a paddle, like a chancla, like a puppet.
And isn't it thought that she taught A how to put her consciousness in the titty sword?
Yes, and that is suggested, yes.
Or Makoto's maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. And I also wondered if that was in relation to like even the Shogun puppet, Like is there like a part of A that is in the Ryan Shogun? But I think it's probably more about like the plane of euthymia and everything, which just seems like, Yae Miko knows how to do all that.
Mm-hmm.
Like she taught an Archon something.
Yeah.
Wild. But according to Yae Miko, there's like different types of kitsune, so you can like divide them into like classes. You have the Sky Kitsune, and she is that, and they are kind of considered like the more powerful kitsune. And then you have Yakon Kitsune. There might be some other ones in there as well, but those are like the two that Yae specifically mentions. So it's just like, you keep niching it down. You have the bigger, the little, the little, the little.
Mm-hmm.
And we first meet Yae Miko in the Inazuma Archon line.
Mm-hmm.
She saves our booties.
I was going to say she's helping us.
For now.
I'm still actually not too sure if she was really helping us.
Or if she was just getting her girlfriend back.
Yeah, I really think that she was just like, when it comes down to it, like there's a part when you get to the end of the Archon when you're just like, oh my God, I was just a little pawn for you, wasn't I? You didn't give a shit about me at all. It was all about getting back to your girlfriend.
And she's just like, hee 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 hee.
Mm-hmm. Which, hey, it worked, and Inazuma's free now. So, free trade. Yay.
Free trade. No tariffs.
I am halfway convinced that she can see the future.
Ooh, why is that?
Do you remember when we did I think it was the Scaramouche episode we did, where we talked about the Raiden Gokuden and the 5 families and how Scaramouche basically wrecked all of them?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he said, fuck your lineage.
Yeah. I don't know if you remember this, but the Kamisatos were going to be punished by the Raiden Shogun because of their involvement in that whole debacle.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone thought they were basically going to get banished. And Yae Miko got involved, and everyone was like, why is she getting involved with this? And she did it to spare them banishment. So they actually sort of barely dodged punishment for that whole thing. And so no one knows exactly why she did this, but for some reason it was important for her to build a sense of loyalty from them to the Raiden Shogun. And it makes it, like, if you read about it, it makes it seem like this is possibly done to keep them from like a full outward rebellion after conflict might arise with the other commissions,
Mm-hmm.
and to like establish, that loyalty to the Raiden Shogun. And it makes me wonder, did she know what was going to happen? Or maybe she just at that point already knew that the Tenryo Commission was corrupt or something. But it seems like she knew that the Yashiro Commission or the Kamisatos would play some kind of important role when the Sakoku Decree and all of that shit happened way later.
Yeah, and if they're being true and honorable toward the Raiden Shogun, they won't fully fight back. Whereas if they had been annexed to the forest, they might just be like, fuck this, we have nothing else to lose. Where instead they play the politics game and keep it more peaceful.
Right.
Yeah, like she was trying to make sure that there were people on the Shogun's side with blind loyalty. Because it wasn't just, obviously people are going to be a little bit more easy to be loyal to the Archon, but like the blind, like it's a part of their like motto, like their credence is the, her words of the Kamisato clan only survived because of the mercy of the shogun, and you should remember that in the days that follow. Like it's a part of their whole shebang.
Yeah. It's weird because that happened so long ago, like generations before the game. And part of me is like, was she doing it to keep them from rebelling? Or, the Kamisatos during the Archon Quest line, they kind of are rebelling, but they're doing it covertly.
Yeah.
But they are like helping. And without them, like, I don't think things would have turned out the way they did. Like they helped sort of bring down and put a stop to the Sakoku decree. So it's like she either knew that they would need to not be fully on the wrong side, or that they would be also like adding to solve the conflict. I mean, they just make it kind of ambiguous in the character stories of like what her actual reasoning was. And she did it at a risk to herself as well, because it made her look weaker and like she was like minding things that weren't her business. So it gave her like, it like kind of cut into her own power a little bit. So I think it's just like interesting. Like, does she have like, is her foresight really that far into the future?
Yeah, that would be really interesting because she always sounds very confident in what she says, even if you look back at when she is talking to us about, like, she knew what was going to happen in the end of the Archon, like her plan, but it was her plan. But how much of it was, did she devise it that way, or did she know that these things, she had to just put these pieces in play for them to finish themselves out because she's seen it? It's interesting.
She's making one move in like an extremely long chess game that she knows exactly is how it's going to end. So it just kind of makes me wonder if like she has some kind of tie to being able to see fate, almost like a Mona situation.
That makes me really extra scary though, because if the Ito in the one of the Rockin' My Life for the Tour of France,
the Arataki Rockin' for Life Tour de Force of Awesomeness event.
Yes, that one.
The Tour de France, though.
At the end of that, we have this little cutscene of A and Miko speaking, and like she says to her, well, what about if the other war happens? Like, when that time comes, will you fight again? And A is like, well, yeah, if it comes down to my people, I'm fighting. But it's like, Miko, what the fuck do you know? Like, does she know that like this whole thing is going to happen again? Like, is she preparing for like the second cataclysm?
She knows the future.
It's curious because Yae Miko is connected to the Grand Narukami Shrine, right? And so the Grand Narukami Shrine is that giant tree that she chills at. It's like the only place we ever see her. And the tree is in charge of purifying the ley lines in Inazuma. We learned a lot of this during like A's second story quest. I believe we talked about that in our episode about Makoto and A as well. But it's said to say that like this tree is protecting Inazuma. And Yae Miko says that her fate is tied to this tree as the Guuji, which is like the head priestess. Now, if we remember the Grand Narukami Shrine, this tree that's at the shrine, I guess it's the sacred Sakura tree, it was planted and grown using timey-wimey bullshit. So that we have assumed that Istaroth was involved in. So we know this tree came from this little seed that Makoto was having. And Makoto gave the seed to A after she fought herself for X amount of years in the plane of Euthymia during A's second story quest. And somehow or another, planting it makes it grow thousands of years in the past. And then it's here. So it's like, we think it's always been here. And it's very confusing. And it's very weird.
Hundreds of years, I guess, right?
They say it began to grow thousands of years in the past, even before the Great Flood that separated the islands of Inazuma.
Oh, shit.
Oh, okay.
That's just like in the description of the Sacred Sakura. They could have changed something. Who knows? But I think it's interesting because that means that this tree is connected to, most likely to Istaroth, the Shade of Time. And that means that Yae Miko might also possibly be connected somehow to Istaroth. And if she has a connection to the Queen of Timey-Wimey bullshit, maybe she can see the future. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a power from the tree.
It makes a weird kind of sense.
If the tree is directly connected to her, is that why the tree looks like a fox?
No confirmation, but great. I mean, I would think so.
There's some fox genes in that tree.
Yeah. I always wondered why it had like that. It looks like a fox.
Yae Miko actually commissioned that.
She carved that. She's like, let's make sure that my girlfriend doesn't forget about me.
When she originally looked up at it, it actually looked like Scaramouche, and she was like, A can't be reminded of her failed son. We need to fix this.
There's something else about her nature that I find strange and mysterious, which is that she's said to be A's familiar. You know, like she can always she always knows where A is and how to get to her. And I'm like, how do all Kitsune have, like, are they all familiars to someone? Is that just a power that she can activate and attach herself to whoever she wants? Like, how does one become a familiar? Are other yokai familiars?
Ito's my familiar.
Ito's your familiar? Is that what you
Ito's
said?
my familiar, yeah.
You know, Kujosara wishes she was A's familiar.
Yeah.
Oh my
trying
God.
hard.
Actually, if I was to have a yokai familiar, it would definitely be a Bakeduki. And let's be honest, that would be the fumbling little like roundish bear. That's me.
Mine would be Kirara because she's clawing at my leg. Yeah, that's a really good question though. I wonder if it's more of like a self-professed familiar.
Well, but there's some kind of power that connects her because she knows remember when during the A's second story quest, when we go into the realm where she's fighting the robot or the puppet version of the Raiden Shogun, they're basically like in all these timelines or whatever. We have to like navigate through time to find her and to help her with the fight. And that's when Yae is like, as her familiar, I always know how to find her. So I can send you through time to the correct place in this realm for you to find her.
Is Yae Istaroth? Like, I am so confused. I don't know though. There was a part of me originally that was going to suggest that it was part of the maybe her having the gnosis, because we do know that Yae Miko holds on to the gnosis until she gives it to Scaramouche. So like A has never had the gnosis on her for years.
Well, I have a crack theory that Yae is the Electro Archon.
I don't think that's a crack theory. I think a lot of people think it. I think that's a pretty like widespread theory. Yeah.
That like either like when when A went into the plane of euthymia, that she somehow transferred it to Yae, or maybe she somehow inherited half of the power of that when Makoto died, since they were twin archons.
If we remember though too, like they weren't technically twin archons. Like Makoto was the archon and A was like the fighter in the shadows who everyone assumed was Makoto.
But was it ever clear about that? Because I thought, did it actually answer the question of like, was it just Makoto that was the archon and then it became A, or were they both always like twin archons, but one of them was the figurehead and the other did the fighting? You know what I mean? Like, did they both share the authority of Electro Archon?
I'm not sure. I don't remember. I mean, we have an episode on it for anyone who wants to go back and listen. We probably go into more details. I feel like it wasn't clear, but I feel like if Makoto was the only archon and Makoto died and then A immediately went into I need to make a new sibling mode, she might have tossed the gnosis to Yae Miko and been like, I don't want this. Like, I'll give it to the Makoto 2.0 when I make her. You can hold on to this. And then I think that she slowly realized after Scaramouche that maybe she shouldn't give it to a puppet. And then they gave it to a puppet anyway.
I can't say if this is 1000% correct, but Makoto, she is considered the original Electro Archon and a predecessor to the twin. So it kind of, in one of the write-ups, it seems like it was Makoto.
What if it was actually Yae and she just makes A think that she's the Archon?
I mean, it makes a lot of sense, especially considering the fact that Yae Miko is basically in control of Inazuma, despite the fact that the Shogun is there. I mean, Yae is definitely pulling the shots on behalf of A, and the Shogun is kind of playing the A to her Makoto, right? Like, in this case, Yae gets to hide up at the shrine and make decisions, and the Shogun is fighting it and putting it out. there.
Also, another thing that adds to this theory is that she strongly hints that her vision is purely ornamental.
Well, but she's being a little cagey with that, though. Like, I think she's being a little like, because she comes up with this whole story of how she got her vision. And then she's like, well, that would have been kind of funny. Ha ha ha. But, you know, would you even believe me if I even just told you it was an ornament? I don't know if we can believe what she says in that scenario, because I think she's writing her, like, a story for herself.
She's writing her next light novel.
Yeah.
About the ramen duel.
Oh, yes. The great ramen duel.
But Yae Miko's never written a book, though, right?
No,
Like, she's never actually done it.
No.
Yeah.
That's going to be her first one.
Yeah.
I will say in her voice line about her vision, she calls it a priceless treasure.
I call it an earring because that's what she has. It looks smaller than other people's visions because it's an earring.
She says about her vision, "You're saying you like how I wear my vision?" So she's talking to Tiff.
Yeah.
"You certainly have an
She
eye
is.
for a priceless treasure. Well then, I bet you'd like to pet it."
Oh.
Yes, Miko, I would. Thank you.
You're like, actually, no, I'm good. Thanks though.
But yeah, she tells Traveler this whole dramatic, ridiculous story about a ramen duel and how that's how she got her vision. And you can tell she's just making up something dramatic. And Traveler's like, oh, come on. Like, that's not what really happened. That's ridiculous. No one got a vision from having a ramen duel. And then she's just kind of like, well, would you even believe me if I told you that it's purely ornamental? And it's like, okay, so she's hinting that it probably is, right?
Listen, we know Venti wears a fake vision, right?
Yeah.
So we can't put it past anyone.
Yeah, that's very true.
And I mean, her vision might just be fake because the yokai don't need it. But doesn't Kujo Sara have a vision, a real vision?
Sara, Ito, Kirara, they all have real visions. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Something's going on there.
Well, I guess it also kind of goes out to that idea that I know I like to think about it that Yae Miko is also in charge of the Yae publishing house. We'll get into a little more details later on that. But the idea that she wants real stories told in fictional ways so that they don't ever get forgotten if they're removed from Irminsul in the same way that Nihida did. You know, she wrote everything down in the form of children's books so that people could remember them. Meanwhile, Yae Miko, it seems to be interested in publishing stories in the forms of light novels so that they can continue on.
Mm-hmm.
Although, who knows, she might just be self-centered and having people publish stories about her and A.
Yeah, I think she's part of the reason she started the Yae publishing house is because she's bored.
Oh, yeah.
And she hates being a shrine maiden. It's like so boring.
She's like, I'm stuck here at this pretty, pretty tree all day.
Yeah, I got to just sit here and smile, wearing my pretty outfits while all of this, ceremony is happening.
And answer all of Kujo Sara's questions about my girlfriend.
Like, I never get to go look at Yoimiya's fireworks outside, even though I think she sneaks out and does look at them.
100%. But let's take a quick leap back here to the Archon Quest when we first meet Yae Miko. So we first meet her with Squid Games. Yeah, it's the absolute worst. Once you pass those, she gives you like a pass, basically. She's like, here's your hall pass into the plane of Euthymia. But how are we gonna get you in there? Like, and we're like, well, you just gave us a hall pass. And she's like, no, you there's gonna be guards, stupid. Like, you have to break through somehow. And this is when Yae Miko decides that she is going to wreck Kujo Sara's world. And we go on a quest to cause the greatest crash out known to Inazuma. Where Kujo Sara, who is a Tengu yokai, adopted into the Kujo clan. Dad is in charge of the cops and everything. She's raised her way up. We have an episode about her with Beefy from the Shade Chamber. You can listen to that later or now. Goodbye if you're going to listen. And we basically tell Kujo Sara and are able to convince her that her adopted father, Daddy Kujo, is in cahoots with the Fatui and is giving out delusions to people and killing them, and that he doesn't give a single fuck, and that the Shogun's on his side and nothing else matters. And Kujo Sara literally storms out of the shrine and runs to go fight the Shogun on it. So we're like, Yae Miko, did we do it? And she's like, go. She's going to part the Red Seas for you. Follow her. And she's right. We follow Kujo-Sara all the way to all these knocked down, KO'd bodies. We go inside and then find Sara to be a knocked out, KO'd body. Insert fight with Signora because Signora's there and she's like, I'm a politician. And we're like, we don't care. And yeah, and that's honestly, I will take one more step back. I think I mentioned this earlier, but in case I didn't, when Yae Miko rescues us, then makes us do the Shogun training, she saves us from Scaramouche, who is trying to kill us in the Delusion Factory. And we find out that she basically gave him the Gnosis for our life.
Yeah, she was like,
Yeah.
we don't need this. Here you go.
Yeah, she was like, we never had an Archon. We haven't had an Archon in 500.
Yeah, for 500 years. I'm tired of it.
So when you finish Inazuma, Yae Miko is the person that you get to go up and talk to, which I thought was really interesting because at least in Sumeru and Liyue, you talk to the Archons. So you talked to Nahida and you talked to Zhongli. And in Fontaine, you talk to Neuvillette, who is basically taking over control. I do not remember. Did we talk to Venti and Mondstadt?
At the end?
I believe so.
That's like
Yeah.
9,000 years ago, guys.
Did we talk to him by Windrise?
Yeah, I think by the Tree of Vanessa. So we, at this point, have talked to all Archons up until Inazuma. And then we talked to Yae Miko, and it kind of lends into that theory of like maybe she's an Archon up until Fontaine.
Yeah.
And in Fontaine, there is no Archon by the end.
Yeah, and you can kind of say that it is Neuvillette.
Yeah, Neuvillette is the dragon hoe in charge now.
Yeah.
Mhm.
They don't have an Archon. So it definitely lends some credits that Yae Miko might be the Archon, but minimally it proves that she's pulling strings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A's not the only puppet master around these parts.
Yae has A wrapped around her fucking fingers.
Hmm.
Yeah.
They're in love, Your Honor.
Hmm.
Your Honor.
So then we do have a story quest with Yae Miko as well. The story quest is basically about her like saving a yokai, right? Like saving the soul of a yokai.
Hmm.
Yeah, so I think it's, we were talking about the yokai, and you find out that a long time ago the yokai were actually common. And they say they have like all of their little areas, like we were saying before. So it says that the Tengu dominated the skies, the Oni swept across the battlefield, and Tanuki were seen along small paths, and the Kitsune walked amongst humans. And then under the banner of Narukami, the incredible powers of the yokai host were used to help humans through an era of strife and poverty. Seeking refuge in the mountains, they built a city by the sea, and so began Inazuma. So yokai literally help humanity found Inazuma. And then they talk about amongst the yokai, the lineage of Hakushin Kitsune was the most revered, and that is Yae Miko's lineage. It's also Lady Saigu's lineage,
Hmm.
who is the white fox yokai that is one of A's blanket friends that you see in the whole blanket cutscene
Alrighty.
thing.
Love a good blanket friend.
We loved a good blanket friend because they're all dead.
Yeah, 500 years ago. And this is actually interesting because it reveals more about Yae Miko's past, like her age and stuff. So 500
Mhm.
years ago, she was still considered a young kitsune who didn't know how to turn human yet. And she would actually often perch on Saigu's shoulder. So Saigu was definitely like her elder. And Lady Saigu would host these events where like all the region's yokai would get together and get drunk and tell stories about, all of the things they've done, parade around the night sky. Yae Miko at the time was still a little baby fox girl, and she loved to argue with this especially grandiose yokai named Urakusai. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Urakusai or Urakusai.
Yorakusai.
Yorakusai. But so she loved to argue and poke holes in all of his stories. And then, like I said, all the yokai would get drunk and parade through the night sky. And then those parades turned into these legendary events where there's like demons in the sky called Hayakiyoko,
Hmm.
something like that. And that's sort of what comes up in Yae's story quest, right?
Yeah, and basically, like, because he's a yokai that's bleeding out of the ley lines, because Inazuma has a ley line bleeding problem. Not like Natlan, but they got spirits just flooding all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
She's able to help him kind of put him a bit to rest.
And it was Kusai, right? The one that whose story she used to poke holes in.
Yeah, she used to like always like almost be a little pain in the ass kid too.
Right.
I don't think you can do that.
She's like, no way, Grandpa. You didn't really do that, Grandpa.
Yeah.
He's like, stop calling me Grandpa, you whippersnapper.
But maybe she pissed him off so much, and that's why he like did something a little dirty. Because while it's not completely fact, there is an inkling to the fact that he may have actually had something to do with the abyss bleeding out all over Teyvat too.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna lie, when you said something dirty, I was like, oh my God, what? Like, I was like, he's a creep.
No.
Oh,
Amanda.
Amanda, I would never.
You could tell that I work in things that deal with creepy. I'm like crisis management right away.
You're like, your mind immediately went there.
Yeah. How do we fix?
But yeah, I read that too, Tiff, that he might have been involved in something that helped lead to the cataclysm, and that Saigu like probably banned him from the Narukami shrine. And then, allegedly she started hanging out with the Raiden Shogun more after that to keep an eye on her.
Yeah, and they were blanket friends prior as well.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a little bit more between A and Lady Saigu, and obviously in Makoto and all the other blanket friends there. But yeah, Lady Saigu was like a mentor to Yae, as I think she was to some other Kitsune as well. But especially because, like you mentioned early on, they were a part of the same clan. So it totally made sense. But it kind of sounds like Lady Saigu really did push out Yurikaishu.
Mm-hmm.
It was like he did something.
Right.
And hopefully not what Amanda kind of was saying. But I would also assume by like 500 years, like if that happened around the cataclysm time, I would imagine that I would have been adultish at that point too. Although I don't know. We don't actually know when Yae and A meet each other, do we?
No. And that's also like her age is definitely in question here.
Yeah.
So Ganyu and Yae know each other. And Yae says that prior to the borders closing in Inazuma, her and Ganyu actually used to talk shop a lot, like politically. So I'm not sure that was just happening, a few years prior when, know, or if it was happening many moons prior.
Do we know how long it was between the cataclysm and when A went into the plane of Euthymia? Was that the beginning of the Sakoku degree, or had she been like in the plane of Euthymia prior?
I believe A goes into the plane of Euthymia at the same time as the Sakoku degree. I believe they coincide. We could check the timeline.
It makes sense though, because I mean, it's not like she couldn't have went in there right away because she had to make a couple puppets.
Well, she made a couple puppets. She decided that her life wasn't worth living.
Yeah.
She made her son cry.
All of her friends died.
So we said that in our timeline episode that 1 year ago, 1 year prior to the game starting, the events of the manga occurred and the Vision Hunt decree and Sakoku decree were instated.
Okay. Yeah, so Miko would have been old enough then to be a girlfriend and be putting your brain inside the city sword.
I can't believe she taught someone that still. It's wild.
Or maybe she encouraged her. She's like, you could do it. I bet you can.
I really know I can't. You don't know what you're talking about.
I mean, if anybody's going to like convince a god to go hang out in a lonely room, it's Miko. She's pretty persuasive.
Yeah.
Or frightening. One or the other. Or both. Both work in her advantage. To her advantage. She scares the crap out of quite a lot of...
I mean, if she can't convince someone, she'll just maneuver the chess pieces in a way that someone else will.
Or she'll get her buddy Ayato, because like just going back to that whole thing between Miko and the Kamisatos, we see her with Ayato in other stories and stuff too. Like what was the yokai event called? It was the first Mikawa Flower Festival that we saw.
The Akitsu Kimodameshi event.
So we see her working with Ayato there. Like they're really like sus in that event, especially at the end where they're just like, oh, funny how this worked out.
You know, that like really solidified him as a ship for her.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So not to get too off topic, but you know how I do. There are 2 or 3 big ships out there for Yae Miko, and obviously the top one is A. Duh. The second one is Ayato, though. And basically people suggest that they're just like both sneaky together, and that's why they're like cute. I have read some fan fictions where I was like, oh yeah, I could get into this. It's hard though when you think like about her and A, but Ayato is a big ship, and then the third ship is usually Kokomi.
Oh, interesting.
Oh.
But I think like they're really trying to do like enemies to lovers with Yae and Kokomi. I don't know if I really get behind that. I can get behind Ayato and Yae Miko. Like, they're both so suspicious.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, she has, like, a bunch of nicknames for Ayato, which I think she calls him, like, a rascal and stuff like that. So I think it kind of tones down the crush material. But you never know. It is Yae Miko, after all. She might be trying to throw us all for a loop.
Yeah.
I was just double checking our timeline stuff with the plane of Euthymia and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks like A created the plane of Euthymia over 400 years ago.
Okay, she just didn't live in it until a year before the game. Well, no,
because I think she might have, because I think, you know, the Raiden Shogun is the one who decided on starting the Vision Hunt decree the year before the game.
Oh,
right.
true.
So that's she like, I made this puppet and now I'm commanding it to uphold eternity. So the puppet was kind of like doing whatever it wanted. You know what I mean?
Right. That makes sense.
And since Miko had her hall pass to get in and out of the Euthymia,
her hall pass,
their relationship could have. I need their relationship to work, I think. They're like my Dingguang Beidou.
Yeah.
No.
They're one of the iconic ships of the game for sure.
I mean, their idols match. It's so fucking cute.
Mm-hmm.
It's difficult. I think we one time got them to actually do it together too. But if anybody doesn't have, if you don't have Miko or A, you might not know, but their idols, a finch comes flying and lands on their hand and stuff like that. But like in Miko's, like her little fox kind of comes out and like bats it away and stuff like that. But like A looks at it like all lovingly. And then there's a throwback in Scaramouche's, I think it's his character teaser or his demo where the same finch actually lands on his hat.
Yeah. Well, doesn't it do that in Wonder's idol too?
I don't know if it still does it in his. I know it does it in the one video. Let me see if it actually does it in his idols.
I want to say it does, and he just acts annoyed by it.
Yeah, he's like, fuck you, a bird.
Yeah, he's like, ugh.
Stop reminding me of my mom and stepmom.
He's always sticking his tongue out at me. I don't always remember.
He's always like, fuck off.
Yeah, I don't see it. So yeah, it must just be in the I don't have Wanderer, so.
Same.
Well, he sticks his tongue out at you a lot. It's actually kind of funny.
Yeah, and he like wields some yeah, okay, so not in his idol. Mystery solved.
Can we backtrack to the story quest? Did we finish it? How does her story quest end?
So Urakusai is basically like, man, I'd really like to get the band back together for one night only. And Yae Miko's like, I got you, boo. And so she like gets all of the restless yokai spirits together, and they have like a big parade in the sky, and it helps put his spirit at rest, right?
Yeah, and before that, doesn't he like take over the traveler's body?
Yes.
And the traveler's like, ha 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 ha. I mean, I thought that was an accurate representation. Is that not what happened?
That's exactly what happened.
It's that smug look that the traveler gives. I'm always like,
yeah.
What? I remember seeing it the first time. I was like, who is this? Because this is not the traveler. This is not, I refuse. I thought her story quest was beautiful, though. And the cutscene at the end where they have like the parade of yokai souls and everything was gorgeous.
Yeah, it was really pretty.
It's an amazing little cutscene. And it was a fun story quest, too. Not like her counterpart, Ayato.
Snooze fest.
Yeah, that was really boring.
Although, like, they could have done so much more with it. Like, I loved the idea of it.
There wasn't even a wedding at the end of it.
Whoa. Not yet.
The whole thing was about this damn wedding, and then we didn't even get a wedding.
They're in love.
It was a cock tease.
They don't want to speed.
Ayato's and Kokomi's will still remain as my top snooze fests. ones that I forget about because
Wait, you didn't like Kokomi's?
no, I found it very boring. I don't know why. You would think the ending was quite entertaining, but I don't know. I saw Gorou and I went meh.
I don't even remember Kokomi's. What happens in hers?
At the end, she has her big talk with Kujo Sara when they're like it's kind of like they're opening up the border with Watatsumi again, and they're making like trade deals and stuff.
Oh, right.
But they have those people who are, kind of like fueling the fire that things aren't as nice as they. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They're like making it seem like there's still problems because it's after the Sakoko is done and over with.
Right.
Meanwhile, they're the problem.
Very political.
We see Sarah yell at somebody. Like she's like, "Oh, you're embarrassing me in front of the other country now."
No, she's like, "You're embarrassing me in front of the pretty pink princess."
Yeah.
Like, please, guys, we're trying to prove something here.
Yeah.
The pretty pink priestess and her pup.
Mm-hmm.
And you just fucked it all up. So now I gotta go back to Yae Miko and get Yae Miko to scare the shit out of this guy again.
But Kokomi thought it was so boring. She, in the middle of it, goes take a nap in her little hideout.
Yeah.
Just why I forgot that there was a little hideout at one point, too.
Yeah, Kokomi's little antidote, what is it?
Anecdote?
Yeah, anecdote.
The little anecdote when we were able to go and talk to people for like 40 days. Kokomi's was cute, but she was in her little sleeping cavern reading, and she had fallen asleep, and we were in Discord with Vanessa, and Vanessa was like, "Where the fuck is it sending me?" She was like, "I have never been here." I was like, "Isn't it cute?" And then it was such a cock tease, though, because it was like, or I guess it was a plot tease, because you get there and she's asleep, and you're like, "Oh, okay, better not wake her," and then you walk away, and it never brings you back there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, really? I thought she was gonna wake up, and we get another one, like the 17 cloud retainer ones we had, and the 6 amber ones.
I felt like I did so many amber ones.
Oh, cloud retainer was the one that I felt took up all my time. I was like, ma'am, I get it. You're on a fucking field trip right now, but you're a full adult. You don't need me.
No, the cloud retainer ones were so good. We got to see her interact with so many new characters.
I'm not saying they weren't good. I was just saying there were a lot of them.
Yeah, there were way more for her than other characters. I thought that was odd that it wasn't really like balanced. It's not like everyone didn't get the same amount of storyline.
Kokomi literally just slept.
Yeah.
Like that was her plot.
That was it. Yeah.
Rosaria was standing on the side of a building. I got so excited when they finally, she was involved in something. I was like, damn.
Drinking with Barbados. What is it? It's drinking with
Barbados.
Barnabas.
Barnabas. No. If Barnabas showed up, I would have been throwing hands. My sword would have been out. I would been like, what are we at? What's happening? I would have transformed into Kaya very quickly. I've been like, out, demon. But yeah, so we talked a little bit about Yae's involvement in the Archon, Yae's involvement in her own story quest. A few quick notes that we have mentioned is that Yae Miko is the head of the Grand Narukami Shrine. She's the head priestess there. They call it a Guuji. She's also the founder and CEO, basically, of the Yae Publishing House.
The editor-in-chief.
Editor-in-chief, CEO, founder, president, COO.
The story of how she started the publishing house is so good. So there was this fire soothing festival committee that was once this organization chaired by the Tenryo Commission, but it was sort of run by the Narukami Shrine. And it's important to remember that the Narukami Shrine, they're an organization that, because they're sort of sacred, they're not ruled by the Tenryo Commission. So the Tenryo Commission has no authority over them.
And no violence is allowed to happen on their facilities.
And they used to do this fire soothing festival because back in the day, so many of the buildings used so much wood in Inazuma that house fires were very common and disastrous. So later on, fires become way less common, but they're still holding this festival every year with this 40-60 split of profits, where 40% of it goes to the Tenryo Commission and only 60 of it goes to the Narukami Shrine, even though the Narukami Shrine are doing all the work to put on the festival. And so Yae kind of later rebels against this, saying that, well, the Tenryo Commission, they're not really helping with this. I don't think they deserve any Mora. and she sort of says, also, most of that Mora, it's just going straight into Kujo Takayuki's pockets, aka Daddy Kujo, the evil one.
Ooh.
So she sets up the next year's Fire Soothing Festival to feature a light novel submission contest instead of dancing shrine maidens. And that's how the Yae Publishing House was born. She creates that organization to be like the organizing body of the contest. And it quote unquote borrowed the Fire Soothing Festival Committee's budget to run it. And then all the profits she was able to make sure went directly to the shrine, because she was like, well, this is all about creativity and art, and that's really important to the Raiden Shogun.
Mhm.
You're not going to try to stop us from doing this in our very sacred ceremonial duties, right, Tenryo Commission? So that's like how it all started. And then it's funny because Kuki has a voice line about her that says, because as most of us may remember, Kuki used to be a shrine maiden. And she has a voice line about it saying, like, I totally understand, like, being a shrine maiden is the most boring thing in the world. I know why Yae hates it. And I know exactly that why she created the Yae Publishing House, because she needed something to do to help her with her boredom. So I just love that story that she was kind of like, neener, I'm creating my own organization.
I just want to know who was in the fire brigade.
Me.
Was there a fire truck?
Yes, but Evan Buckley and Eddie Diaz were there.
It would have just been Kurara running with the fire hose everywhere.
Wee woo, wee woo. You know what's interesting though is you mentioned Kuki and how she was a shrine maiden, but Yae Miko has actually never met Kuki. She knows her as Miyuki's younger sister, which is true. Miyuki is a shrine maiden you can still run into up there. That is Kuki's sister. And she literally says something along the lines of like, I'm going to get Miyuki to introduce us because Miyuki can't say no to me. I'm like, how did you not know a shrine maiden?
Because she kind of was like the shrine maiden in training, kind of.
Oh, because she never made it past.
I don't think she was like, she didn't get to go like stand out and like do something. She beat feet before.
She was like an intern.
Yeah. And now she just avoids it at all costs.
I don't blame her. I'd be avoiding everything too.
But also Yae Miko's always trying to not hang out there as much as she can because of her long lifespan. She really does view boredom as her greatest foe and makes it a point to look for fun in like any nook and cranny of life. Any way she can get some entertainment, that's where her energy's going.
Right.
Which one of my favorite stories of Miko, I like to call it Miko in the City. It's the Sex and the City spinoff for Yae Miko. There was one time that Sayu had, like, they'd taken a nap because, Sayu is the queen of naps. And she was saying how the afternoon nap, this laying in the sun in the afternoon was just the best. So Miko transformed herself into an ordinary Inazuman woman to go out into the city for the day. So she went to the Asia bathhouse. She went to the Kiminari restaurant, the textiles and kimonos place. She's talking to people. She's listening to everybody. At the end of the day, she went to the Bantan Detective Agency to report about all the missing pets that apparently she heard about, which I don't know why I don't know if she was stealing the pets or letting them go. And then that's why there were so many people crying about their missing pets.
Oh my God, is it the puppy brigade or whatever?
Yeah. Yeah. So she goes and tells them they need to go like find these pets because there's all these people who are really like crying and stuff. And nobody knows that it's her except like Kujo Sara sees her and gives her this like little side eye because like she must, I don't know.
She can sense it. Yeah. Fellow yokai.
She's like, wait a second, that's not a regular lady.
I love it so much.
But like she even notes about it, like she should go back over to the Asia bathhouse to apologize because, she shed a little bit of fox fur during her soak in the tubs.
She's just like, I'm taking a personal day today.
And I'm the boss, so I can take as many personal days as I want.
She put on those Manolos and she was walking around the city.
Also, I love just another little story about her role at the Narukami Shrine. Her favorite person there is Kano Nana, which you might remember us talking about in the Heizo episode. That is Heizo's cousin. And of course, she's also Sayu's caretaker. And Yae gets very entertained when she sees Kano chasing Sayu around and trying to run from her responsibilities, and will sometimes give her wrong directions to find Sayu, where she's like, which way did she go? And Yae will be like, oh, she went that way. And she does it just to prolong the chase.
That's so fantastic.
And she sometimes helps Sayu steal away to do extra napping. Like she's definitely on Sayu's team. She's like, no, I want her to nap. It's fine. And Kano's like, no, stop napping. You need to do work.
She's like, oh, you're Ayato's little ninja? Let's go to bed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We need our child soldiers nice and rested.
Mm-hmm.
Or MIA.
Yeah.
Now, just a quick backtrack to the Yae Publishing House. We do have an episode on the Yae Publishing House that really goes into detail about it, but just a quick recap. This is the place where a bunch of light novels are published through. Shingsho's books are very popular at the Yae Publishing House. As mentioned, Yae Miko has yet to write a book herself, but she loves reading people's writing. It's her biggest hobby. It's her pastime. She's trying to convince us to write about our lives because she knows it would sell well. But also, like, maybe because she wants to make sure that that history is written down in case something happens in Irminsul.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure she knows if it's going to.
Right. She also finds stories about humans to be very dull because of their short lifespans. Thanks, Yae. Gonna go have an existential crisis after this one. And she does threaten to start writing books, but she never does.
Yeah. She likes seeing all the authors struggle.
You know, there's a few other characters that are kind of intertwined with the Yae Publishing House. We have Shingsho, as I mentioned, who has a book published there. But technically, Albedo is also intertwined because he has created the art for Shingsho's books. And Yae Miko has tried to recruit him, I believe, to do art for other books. You have a Gorou who writes for a self-help column as Miss Hina, but he does not know that he's Miss Hina.
Right.
But now, is Miss Hina published in the Steambird or in
I don't think
the
so.
Yae Publishing? I guess that it would make sense because Ito's reading it all the time. I don't think that the Steambird was getting on over there.
Yeah,
Around
is the Steambird, are they international?
I do believe that the Steambird is read in other places.
All I know is Gorou's column is called That's Life.
The lengths that people go to make sure that Ito doesn't know that Gorou is Miss Hina is
or that
unbelievable.
Gorou doesn't know he's missing.
Yeah.
Yeah, he has no idea.
It's very funny. And I love it that Gorou thinks he's like doing a service for the people of Inazuma and like offering advice. But really, it's like she created this whole character based on him and his writing.
She's like, General Gorou is kind of boring. What if you had a sexy sister?
Right.
We need Dear Abby, but, you know, a little younger.
Yeah, but make it fetch because you're a dog.
Talk about your tail more.
Yeah, fluff it out.
She tries to touch his tail a lot.
One of the best things in this whole game is Gorou's hangout.
Yeah, it's a great hangout. It really is.
Yeah.
There's a lot of Yae Miko interaction in it, a lot of running away. And do you remember that TCG event when they like first introduced TCG and we were following Charlotte around and going to all the different competitions in the nations? When we go to Inazuma for theirs, we run into Kokomi and Gorou quite literally bolts when he sees Yae Miko.
Yeah.
He's like hiding around a corner. It is one of the funniest scenes they have published in this game.
He gets so flustered by her, he doesn't even like talking about her.
Yes, she is an enigma living in his brain. But one other character that is pretty well intertwined into the Yae Publishing House, or wants to be, I should say, intertwined with the Yae Publishing House, is Heizo. He really wants to be published there, and he like begs the traveler to introduce him to Yae Miko. I don't think we have yet, but he wants to write books. So he's like, let me in there.
He's like, they do murder mysteries, right? And he sees it. He wants to be introduced because he thinks that if he's in one of the books there, or he's written about, it's like free publicity for him as an investigator.
And just one last note on the Yae Publishing House, and we can move on. Yae has a pretty interesting quote just around her thoughts around writing and everything. She says, even supernatural beings eventually pass away, including gods. It's a terrible shame when their tales are lost to time along with them, never to be remembered again. The problem is, only those with first-class writing and composition skills are qualified to commit these stories to paper. If there is no qualified writing talent in the world, we must cultivate it. Yes, homegrown writers are what we need, capable of adequately capturing these stories with the written world. So she really is taking the approach that history is important.
Mm-hmm.
and that these stories need to be recorded and told and lived on for generations.
Not just Paimon's little smutty detective novels.
Why are they smutty?
I don't know. How funny would it be though if Paimon was like
Oh my God,
reading like
love that.
smutty detective stuff.
She's like obsessed with romance novels.
Mm-hmm.
And the travelers, meanwhile, like asleep while Paimon's reading, dreaming of finding their sibling. And Paimon's like, oh my God, they're the enemies to lovers just shared a bed in the hotel.
Mm-hmm.
They finally did it.
That's interesting though, that they sort of make that clear that she's interested in books for more than just entertainment, which is what you would assume on the surface.
She sees the importance in it.
Yeah. Did you read about the other business that she wants to start after the Sakoku decree gets lifted?
Oh God, what is it?
She tells Traveler that once the Sakoku decree is lifted, she wants to start a rental business where tourists can dress up as shrine maidens and take photos. And she asks the Traveler if they want to be a model. And I'm assuming it's like Lumine or Ether. I think with one of them, she's like, oh, we would just put you in a shrine maiden dress and then add a little makeup. So I think she tries to get Ether to cross dress, which I love.
Like Cloud.
Like, let's just, like, you've heard of drag, right?
Have you watched RuPaul before?
Yeah.
Do you know what this is about? We could bring you down to the RuPaul if you need it.
We have a great runway
the
for
RuPaul.
you. And then Traveler shares this idea with Rosaria, thinking, hey, this is a great idea for the Knights of Favonius, because they wear interesting outfits too. But then Rosaria was like, no, I'm not doing all that.
Rosaria was like, I'm not even bringing that up to Jean.
Right.
No one will know.
Yeah, she's like, it's too much work.
She's like, I don't even wear the proper uniform as is at the fucking church, and you want me to have other people dress up? No. Now, Yae Miko has been around for quite a long amount of time. She is old. She has a lot of relationships. Obviously, she has her one with A, and she has a lot of thoughts on A. You know, she talks a lot about eternity. She's a little shady toward A about like sealing yourself away from the world and how stupid that is. She talks about being her familiar. So we know a lot about that relationship. We talked a little bit about Ayato and their possible love, but also how they're both very suspicious of one another. But she does have a relationship with a few other people. I know with Ayaka, like they like each other, but she often makes Ayaka cook for her, which is a little sus.
Lots of fried tofu, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Yes, which food? Oh my God. Yae Miko is a foodie. Like, I'm surprised she doesn't have a food blog.
Maybe that's the new Miss Hina type
Maybe.
publication that she needs to have.
Or even a light novel. Have y'all heard of this? I think it's a manga called Delicious in Dungeon.
Oh, yes, I have.
Yeah, I could see her publishing something like that, but it's all fried tofu.
Yeah, I think it's an anime. It's really good. I've seen clips from it.
Delicious and Dungeon? Is that what you called
I
it?
think that's what it's called. And yeah, they did make an anime of it, but it was a book before that. I think it was a manga.
Oh, okay. Yeah, she's like obsessed with food, and specifically her favorite food is fried tofu, which, don't worry, we didn't get any fried tofu in the mail. But she specifically really likes Kitsune udon, which is basically fried tofu over udon noodles. And she has a competition with Ito to eat as much of this as they can. And Ito's like, I won the Kitsune ramen eating contest. I beat her. She had no chance. And I'm like, Ito, you might possibly be having a food eating contest with the Archon. Like, do you understand?
Isn't tofu soybean based?
Yeah, he was in bed for days.
Oh, okay. I was like, wait a
Because it
second.
upset his stomach
Did
so
he?
much.
He poisoned himself.
Yeah.
He can't say no to a fight. Even if it means tummy troubles and IBS for the rest of the week.
Right.
Is that what it is? It's his lactose intolerance. It's not really like a deadly allergy. It's just a tummy trouble.
He fainted when Toma gave him the bean drink. So I'm not really sure.
Kuki had to take him to the emergency room and he just doesn't remember.
He actually lost the contest, but he was so poisoned by the beans that he imagined winning. He had like a fever dream of winning. Next thing he knew, he woke up in bed and he said, Kuki, I won. She went, sure, boss.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did.
Sure.
You're the best.
But yeah, so sometimes she makes Ayaka cook for her, which is a little like sus. I have questions about that. And Ayaka does it. When it comes to Kujo Sara, we know a little bit about their relationship. Kujo Sara is always going to the shrine, trying to learn more about the Shogun. It annoys the shit out of Yae Miko. She's like, leave me and my girlfriend alone.
Uh-huh. Stalker.
Yeah, and she says that Kujo Sara is not the sharpest Tengu in the forest. She certainly didn't inherit the brilliant mind of Daddy Tengu.
Oh my god, that is so messed up.
I know, she brings up like her abandonment issues in it too. Like, we don't even know who Daddy Tengu is. Like,
Yeah.
calm down.
Do you think she just doesn't like Sara like gunning for her girlfriend?
Yeah, of course. She's probably so annoyed
She's
by
like
it.
spiteful. Like, oh yeah, that
Sara's
one.
probably like
Ugh.
constantly asking her stuff about A.
Yeah, especially I would think after the Archon too. Like, now Sara probably feels more comfortable going up to Yae because she's like, we've already like exposed all my family secrets.
Right.
So I'm gonna come here to talk to you and you can expose your family secrets.
And Yai's like rolling her eyes.
Yae's like, I don't know who A is. She's like, I know a Makoto. And I can tell you about her. Besides that, we have Yoimiya. She loves fireworks, Yae. And she loved seeing the Kujo clan flustered when we set off all the fireworks with her during the Archon. She thought that was amazing. She knows Ganyu, as we mentioned earlier, and she also finds her reliable. When she talks about Kokomi, she talks about how there's been like divine priestesses over the years. And she says that the divine priestesses seem to be getting cuter with every generation.
Oh.
She loves Gorou, obsessed with him, obsessed with making him uncomfortable. I mean, I feel like she's gonna get in trouble one day. Like, if she wasn't in charge, like, she'd have a harassment suit on her desk. As we mentioned Sayu already and Kuki. Kirara loves her and kind of looks up to her as like the higher up yokai. And she says that she buys her meals a lot.
And with Kirara, being like a younger yokai, she also says that Yai visited her in person to teach her how to get along better in human society.
Which is sweet. She does care.
Yeah.
I mean, and even like her constant nagging and stuff with Gorou, outside of the fact that she likes that he gets flustered, I think she really just wants him to embrace his dogness. Like she's very much about like, yeah, you have a furry tail. Like, let's talk about it.
Yeah, like take pride in your tail. Like, own your sexiness.
And that's when he walks away.
She's very body positive.
Yeah. So then you have the newest relationship, which is Mizuki, our newest yokai that has come out.
The new ship.
Yes, the new ship. So they like grew up together, question mark? That's kind of what I was getting.
Hundreds of years ago, they were neighbors, and Miko had just learned how to transform into a human. So this would have been less than 500 years ago, but over 100, I guess. And oh my God, Mizuki says that every day she would find me and let me taste her dreams.
I hate it.
It just feels like so weirdly suggestive.
Yeah.
Every day I would taste her dreams. Like, oh.
Meanwhile, Miko is eating fried tofu. If you listen to Zhao, that tastes like dreams. So it's a big circle.
It's interesting.
Dream circle.
Yeah. Tofu and dreams, like they just go together.
It's interesting too because A, like, cannot understand their relationship. She's like, I really don't get why they're friends, but they're friends.
Yeah, she doesn't understand why they pretend like they don't like each other. Because it's like they have this weird game where they're business rivals, but they still care about each other, but they try to hide that they care for each other, like in public. You know what I mean? Like they lean into that like rivalry when other people are paying attention, but then they'll like do each other favors when no one's looking. A's probably just a little threatened. You know what I mean?
Jealous. Yeah. Like. So then the other relationship that is really important is Scaramouche. So Scaramouche, when he talks about Yae Miko, calls her a smooth-talking yokai. Though she pretends to care about humans to gain the favor of her god, all she seeks are entertaining ways to pass her time. He knows his stepmom pretty well. And then prior to Scaramouche erasing himself from Irminsul, Yae Miko does have a voice line about him. Though it's not about Scaramouche or Wanderer or any of that. It's about Kunikuzushi, I'm going to say Kuni because it's easier. Kuni is who he was known as when he was first released into the world. You know, it was when his friends died in the fire and all that jazz. She says, I thought it was a disaster waiting to happen at the time, but she insisted that she wasn't going to lift a finger against the object of her own creation. Had I known how things would unfold, I would have simply disposed of it without her knowing. What about now? Well, we're no longer waiting for the disaster to happen now, are we?
So she was like, I don't want kids.
She was 100% fuck them kids.
She was like, we went to the adoption agency and I immediately wanted to take him back. Like we brought him home and I was like, no, this isn't going to work.
She was like, he interrupted sexy time twice on the first night. He cannot stay.
I think I heard him talking about his real name and it's Natalia Grace.
Shut the fuck up, Brendan. Oh my god.
That went over my
Sorry,
head.
that was really fucked up.
That went over my head. I need an explanation.
Natalia Grace is that girl who got adopted and then her parents convinced themselves that she was really like an adult even though she was a girl.
But then they made a movie that's on Hulu starring Meredith Grey and they like the movie plays it the opposite way, that she is an adult. And that she's like, it is so wild. Brandon, that took me out. I was not expecting that pop culture reference. Like, shit.
Poor Natalia.
We'll talk more about Natalia in her episode now.
Yeah.
Go to our Scaramouche episode to learn more about Natalia. But yeah. Now, on top of all this, there's a lot of symbolism with Yae. They do a lot of bringing back to the Kitsune. It's a big part of her. It's in her name card. It's her constellation. They show a lot of animations with like little foxy Yae. You can buy little foxy Yae statues. So the fox is a big deal with her. She always has reminded me of Ninetales, the Pokemon, for those who partake in Pokemon.
Or Yae Sakura from Honkai Impact 3rd.
Oh yeah, that's true. Is there a Yae Miko equivalent in Star Rail?
I don't think so. There's someone that looks like Lady Saigu in Star Rail, which is Fei Xiao.
Fei Xiao, right. Sometimes I think that Yae Miko and March 7th look similar, but I'm like, they just have pink hair, Amanda, and it's not even the same shade. I just want, like, I think especially in March's sword, what is that, like her sword competition fit? Like I think that one really like makes her look more like Yae Miko because she has more of like it's a Chinese style dress, which I do understand is different than a Shrine Maiden dress, but I think it fits the vibe better. So she looks a little more similar to Yae Miko.
I'm wondering if they'll eventually do like a region in Star Rail that's more Japanese flavored. Because if they do, then that they're definitely holding on to the like their Yae Miko equivalent for that.
I feel like with all the issues they've had with Genshin about saying that certain areas are inspired by IRL regions, they're going to stay away from that in future games. If they're smart, they stay away from it in future games.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're smart, though.
I mean, they haven't said that any of these regions are based off anywhere in Star Rail.
Well, they never technically say.
No, they've said the nations that they pulled inspiration from, I believe, in the live streams for Genshin.
Oh, they have?
I'm not 100% sure, but I feel like I remember the Natlan one referencing it.
But we know that like the Luofu in Star Rail is like obviously space China.
Yeah, or space leeway. That's what I always call it.
Yeah.
When I was playing Star Rail, I was only in Bellabog, and Brandon was like, wait until you get to space leeway. And I was like, what? Excuse me? So that's how I know it.
It's interesting because the current region is sort of like Greece, like ancient Greece, I guess.
And Penacony's just Vegas. It's just the Vegas Strip.
Well, it's very golden age America, like classic cartoons and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, with like Clocky.
It's like Disney World. You know what I mean? Like Vegas with Disney World.
Yeah, Clocky's like definitely like Steamboat Mickey, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It's like, it's a casino that you can go into a deep dream. Like you drown, casino. Go into a dream in the casino, and then maybe you'll live. Maybe.
Dreamy weemy bullshit.
Dreamy weemy. Well, on that note, I do think Kirara heard us say her name quite a few times. So I do think it's time that we move over to our mail segment. So thank you to Kirara for leaving us some mail. Before we jump into some messages that we have to answer, Brandon, we got a special message for you a few weeks ago.
Yes, there was a listener who wrote in with a short little OC for me that they created, and his name is Hikori, and Hikori created a little character sheet for me and a storyline, and it was so good. I just wanted to give it a shout out because his writing, he was very like, I'm not a writer, but I wrote this for you, and I read it, and like his writing is so good. So I just wanted to give it a little shout out. The OC he made for me is from Fontaine. I'm affiliated with Chioria Boutique. I have a Hydrovision that used to be a Cryovision. I'm a Go user. And basically the story, like the short version of the story is like I grew up in Fontaine, but I moved to Inazuma because I was like feeling unfulfilled. I befriended Chiori. I worked for the Kamisatos. I fell in love with Toma.
As you should.
As I should, exactly. And then Toma, during the Vision Hunt Decree, he fights against the shogunate, but he ends up getting killed by the Raiden Shogun.
Aww.
And so I get my Cryovision trying to fight the Raiden Shogun, which of course doesn't work out. And then I also get attacked by Kujo Sara, who shoots an arrow at me and it shatters my Cryovision. But then later I go back to Fontaine and I get a Hydrovision after that. So it's like a fun little interesting storyline of like, you know, getting a second vision after your first one is like destroyed. But yeah, it's great writing and we'll put it on the website. So if anyone's curious, go check it out.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
Brenda, did you feel like you had like a connection to this character after reading it? Like,
yeah, totally. I mean, the writing is so good that it's hard not to, just in general, but I like that the character is so gay. I definitely appreciated that. And like I basically like BFS with Chiori and like helping run a fashion house now. So, which I'm not a fashion person at all, really, but I just love how gay this like fictional version of me is. But Hikori did a great job. He did say that he might be writing some for the two of you as well. So
I'm so excited.
Me
I want to
too.
know all the headcanons you have for us. I'm so hyped.
That's so awesome.
If I'm married to Dodore, though, on site, I'm not going to be happy. No Dodore marriage.
No,
unless
no,
I'm
yeah.
tricking him.
Yeah, it's all a ruse. It's all an elaborate ruse to kill him.
To stab him and his duplicates. Anyway, thank you so much for sharing that with us.
Yes.
Yes, thank you. Hey, Corey. Hopefully I'm not butchering the pronunciation of your name. It's Heikori.
Now, we do have two other messages that we're going to get to today. Our first message comes from Kimiko, and they said, which character did you get on accident and ended up loving? For me, it was Venti. I was like, sure, fine. I don't know what to do with this guy. And now I'm like, please, my one and only Archon, don't leave my side. Teehees and all.
I think mine was D-Luke.
Okay.
Like I remember getting D-Luke and being like, oh my God, he's so powerful compared to these other characters that I've been trying, which was, you know, like Amber and Traveler and Lisa, Kaya. I was just like, this one is like, so that was like my main, you know, but then I also accidentally got Kazuha and was like, okay, bye, D-Luke.
How did you accidentally get
Bobby.
Kazuha?
Well, I didn't know what I was doing at the time because I hadn't been playing for that long. And I started playing in January, but I didn't pay attention that closely to like the banners and the wishing system at first. I was just like getting the free characters, you know, and then like trying to level up my characters. So I didn't even really understand what I was doing because I didn't know anyone else that played Genshin. So I was just kind of flying by the seat of my pants. And then what I was like, once I realized like, oh, like this is how wishing works and you can get other characters and stuff. Because I thought you had to like meet the characters in the game before you got them.
Yeah.
And I hadn't met Kazuha yet in the game. You know what I mean? So like he had just been released and I was like wishing and I got him. I was like, oh, like what's this? Like I didn't even understand that like the banners changed and different characters would, you know, become available. It was like completely clueless.
My story is actually very similar to that. When I was first started playing, the banners were Hu Tao and Child. And I really want a child because I think I had like just met him. Like I kind of sped through Mondstadt and got to Liyue and was like, hey, girly, I'm going to pull for you.
Hey, girly, I have a crush.
Hey, girly, I'm going to rebound with Zhao after you break my heart, but that's fine. And then we'll find Albedo and everything will be good. But I was pulling, I thought for child, but I was actually pulling on the Hu Tao banner because I just thought you could get either of them on both. Like and I did the same thing. I pulled and I got Hu Tao. And I remember, I feel like I was streaming it. And at the time, Brandon was the only person who really played. And I feel like I said, aw, I was really hoping for the ginger. And he was like, you stupid bitch. You were fucking wishing on the wrong banner. And I was like, they're not the same. Why are the same 4 stars on them then? This makes no sense.
By the way, I didn't actually call her stupid bitch. That's just what she hears in her head.
No, Brandon was probably like, aw, Amanda.
And then 2 years later, she did the same thing, got Nilou.
Okay, that was the character you got on accident that you never wanted to fucking get.
Yeah.
I was so mad.
The silence when you got Nilou. We were all in Discord. It was just like, oh, fuck, she did that.
Like, maybe we should all leave and give her some time alone.
5 minutes later, she's like, I gotta go.
I'm like a silent angry. Like when I get angry, even in Fortnite, when we're playing Fortnite, like I just get quiet. I'm just like, and like that you're like when you're reading a book and it's like the silence was deafening, that's me. I never shut up. It's a character flaw. It's like
be scared if she gets quiet.
Yeah. I will say once Tiff and Vanessa, we have a group chat together and they had texted me and they're like, we haven't heard from you in like 12 hours. Where are you? And I didn't see it for a few more hours after that. You guys were like, we're worried. Where are you? And I was like, I'm so sorry. I don't know where I've been. I've been in the void.
In the plane of Euthymia.
It was oh no. What about you, Tiff? What's your accident that you loved?
Well, I think that because I don't, for anybody who doesn't know, I play this game like it's Pokemon and I collect all of them. So I am very intentional with getting everybody, but I would say that the first character that I accidentally C6'd was Yanfei, and I was trying for Diluc because I wanted a Pyro. This was very early on, and I wanted a strong Pyro, and I had known that he was, and I ended up C6ing Yanfei, and I was like, well, I guess I should build her. She's C6. Like, she may have been my first C6, and I fucking loved her immediately. Like, I still play with her. She's not, I mean, Arlecchino is probably my number 1 Pyro now, but I still put Yanfei into my team, especially if I'm like fighting like a Rune Guard, because she's just fantastic with the stupid, like, what's that thing? The plant ball in the sky. Whirly twirly.
Zane?
No, the Eye of the Storm.
A plant ball. I was thinking
it's a plant ball.
Twirly swirly.
The twirly swirly plant ball. I don't know what was so hard about that description. It was obviously very obvious. Yeah, the Eye of the Storm. She fights the Eye of the Storm. Fantastic. So I would say that, you know, like I said, it was an accident that I C6'd her. Just happened to. But I ended up falling in love with her. And now I still play with the girl with the boots with the fur.
Boots with the fur. Can't sing it too much and we get denied. So, well, thank you, Kimiko, for your message.
Thank you, Kimiko.
Our next message comes from Melty, co-host of The Resonance. And they said, what would your favorite ships be? Some of my favorite would be Capri Sun.
Which fucking kills me. Makes me laugh so much. I snorted when I first read that.
That is Capitano and Moeka. Their second favorite ship is A Miko, Yae and A. And their third favorite is Fishnet, Fishel and Bennett.
Fishnet.
So what are your favorite ships? We can do top 3.
Well, I would definitely say, I said it before, A and Miko are one of my favorites, along with Ningguang and Beidou. I would say, what's my third? Probably Jean and Diluc. I try not to ship too many characters. I don't know why. Sometimes I get I'm like, no, you can't. I don't know why. I have no idea what's wrong with me. Occasionally I have like the anti-Cupid. But yeah, I really do like I feel like Jean and Diluc is the other. Those three are, to me, are the quintessential ships of the game.
I'm gonna say Eulamber is my favorite. It's an old classic. I tend to like the more classic ships. Like, I mean, I love thinking about like different pairings, but I feel like I get so reminded by certain characters. I mean, Eulamber, Baguang, obviously a Miko, Sainari, Kavatham, Jean and Diluc a little bit, but I feel like we never get to see them as much.
Their ship name is Dean.
Dean, okay. But we don't get a whole lot of Eulamber lately either, so hopefully they'll give those pairings some attention. But I keep waiting for like a new one to sort of blow me out of the water, and it's like there's never something, like it's so rare that something really unexpected will happen. Like I want to see like two characters that you would never think of, like just randomly having a scene together and everyone being like, oh my God,
that's them.
Yeah.
And it's really funny you say that though, because a lot of people are upset because they feel like there's no good ships in Natlan. And I only really know of 3 ships in Natlan, and that would be Kanich Mualani, Moika Capitano, and then Auroran and Aoife.
Oh, interesting.
Like, and I mean, I like Kanich and Mualani. Like, it's definitely my fave Natlan ship. But there aren't a lot of ships going on over there.
Yeah, they're not very flirtatious over in Natlan.
I guess that's what happens when like you've been fighting for your life for 500 years. Like you just don't have time to develop that as a warrior.
Right.
Because like all the characters we have from Natlan, like they either know they're one of like, this Moika's warriors, or they're adjacent to the warriors. They know too much.
Yeah. I could get behind Moika and Shilonen.
Yeah,
I feel like that could be
that's
fun.
too. That's a ship.
But for the most part, yeah, there's not really much going on.
No. My favorite ship is Albedo and me. That's it. My favorite ships have not really changed, I guess, that much.
Let me see if I can say them. Let me see if I can guess them.
Okay.
Shangyun and Xingqiu.
Mm-hmm.
Alhaitham and Kave. And Sino and Tinyari.
No.
What do you mean?
Alhaitham and Kave are not in my top 3.
Really?
What?
They're in my top 5.
Oh, okay.
You missed my second favorite, because I would say, I don't know. I don't know who's who in this 3, but it's Albedo and Kaya are in the top 3.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
So it's Albedo, Kaya, Shangyun and Xingqiu, Sino and Tinyari. Honestly, Sino and Tinyari are probably my favorite. But I'm going to add 2 more because fuck the rules.
You just made the rules like 2 minutes ago.
When I make the rules, I can change the rules. I also really like Hu Tao Zhao. And I also really like Lumine and Child. It's my like one big... but it's funny because if it's Ether, I like Ether Zhao. But I really like Lumine and Child as well. They will end up together in my Nat fanfic.
I do like the Lumine Child.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of great ships, too. I mean, I'm a big Nuvi Risley fan. I like Eulamber.
See, I like Risley and Clorin.
You just like goth on goth.
I do.
I wish I remembered what episode we did a Carrara Mail where we went through unexpected ships.
Oh, with Vanessa.
Oh, yes.
That was the official episode. I only know because it was the perfect Vanessa question.
Yeah, because she pulls them out of nowhere.
I know, you just stand next to her and she's like, we ship this.
I ship this.
And I'm like,
Wait,
no.
Was it official or was it?
Oh, it must be Jingling, yeah. But yeah. And thank you, Melty, for the question.
Yes, thank
you. Thank you, Melty.
We love shipping. But unfortunately, this ship has sailed. Au revoir. If you like this episode, feel free to email us at talesoftevatpod@gmail.com. Let us know what you thought of this week's episode and what you didn't like. Albedo will be taking questions at the door. If you like this episode, you feel free to give us a follow on Instagram, Tales of Teyvat Pod, or Twitter, Tales of Teyvat. Additionally, you can find us under those handles on Threads and Blue Sky, as well as YouTube. Travelers, next week we will be setting sails with a familiar face and a familiar friend as we go to the Court of Fontaine to talk all about the false archon for Hina. Until then, Safe journeys, travelers. We'll see you next time.
Bye, nerds of mischief.
Ooh, birds of
Ooh.
mischief. Birds. I said birds.
Devious. Mm-hmm.
Why don't you bring your tail over here?